Upset right now. This movie, Ravenous, has a 50% on Rotten Tomatoes, which is an absolute travesty. Seeing how underrated this movie is was really disappointing to me, so I want to introduce it to people who may not have heard of it. And this is not only one of my favorite horror films, but one of my favorite films of all time. First off, the movie stars Guy Pearce from Memento, we have Robert Carlyle from Trainspotting, and then David Arquette from Scream. And there's some other recognizable people like Neil McDonald and Jeffrey Jones. Now, I'm not exaggerating at all when I tell you this is one of the scariest movies to me, and it's not scary in the way that movies are traditionally kind of scary. A lot of times in films, you'll kind of get like jump scares, or you have like these moments where you tense up or whatever. But I'm not exaggerating when I say that when I watch this movie, every single time, there's one scene in particular, and you'll know it when you get to it, where I literally wanted to run out of the room. I was so frightened. I was so with the character at the moment that I wanted to do something drastic to get out of this. The movie takes place in the 1800s in America, and Guy Pearce is a captain in the army. So he essentially gets a demerit for something that happens in the beginning of the movie, and he is sent off to this remote fort in the middle of nowhere, but on the western coast. This remote fort is kind of where they send anybody in the army who's messed up or they don't want to deal with, people who have addictions, things like that. Essentially, it's a fort in the middle of nowhere that they can patrol, but they're not going to really get into trouble. So they get used to a life out there of basically nothing happening. But one day, Robert Carlyle comes running in through the snow, and he tells them about how he's been traveling with this group, and they were going across this mountain range, and they got stuck in the snow, and basically they had a Donner Party situation on their hands. One of the men took over the group and has become violent, and so Robert Carlyle is begging them to come back and help free all these people from the cave. So they follow him to the cave. In my opinion, this movie does not disappoint. I felt this primal fear that I do not feel very often when I watch movies. I'm not quite sure how, but the director, Antonio Bird, she just really captured this feeling of dread and isolation and the helplessness that these characters are feeling in such a way that I've been watching the movie for well over 15 years at this point, and I love to pick it up every 2 years or so. This movie came out in 1999, and it holds up so well. I really think this is a criminally underrated movie. You should absolutely go rent or buy it or stream it. And if you do, please come let me know what you thought. If you liked it, go vote about it on Rotten Tomatoes, because I think this movie deserves a higher score. I love the ending of this movie.